Good evening, everybody. Welcome again to the Texas Backyard. And today's episode, we're actually going to do it indoors only because of the weather. It's raining really cats and dogs. So tonight we have Judge Justin Joyce, who is the Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3, formerly Precinct 4. Thank you so much, Judge, for joining us today at your house at the Texas Backyard, on the Texas Backyard.
Thanks for having me, Mo.
So, Judge Joyce, everyone knows you've been the Justice of the Peace, like I said earlier, for Precinct 4, now Precinct 3, because of the new created precinct lines. What we don't know is who you are since you were a teenager. So if you can tell us your life since high school and until recently, in a quick nutshell.
Sure. Originally, I'm from New York City. I went to high school. I was born in the Bronx and raised in the Bronx, but I went to high school in Manhattan.
Oh, wow.
And after high school, I wanted to join a New York Police Department. But at the time, they were going through financial difficulties and laying off thousands of police officers. So this was 1976, 77. And so I made a decision to come to Houston, Texas, to get into police work. I was 20 years old. And so when I came here, I didn't know anybody here. I didn't have any friends or family, or I didn't have an apartment, a place to live or anything. And so just came here and got odd jobs, laborer jobs at construction sites. I just walk up to the construction site and see if I could get hired. And it's kind of interesting because I didn't have a car. You know, coming from New York, you don't need a car.
Right.
And I just assumed that here I wouldn't need one either. And so I rode the bus. And so the Westheimer bus, which was kind of interesting because it ended at Gessner. Back in 77, Houston, the end of Houston was Gessner. After that, it was a country road out to Fulshire. And it took me a few years of those jobs, and I got going to night school at U of H, and then eventually got into law enforcement at the University of Houston Police Department, and while I was a student there, yeah.
And so after UFH Police Department, you moved to another police department, am I right?
Yeah, I did 3.5 years at U of H, and then Sugar Land Police Department was hiring. This was 1985, and I'd just gotten married and got hired by Sugar Land Police Department. Started out here as a night shift patrolman. We used to work 3 days on, 3 days off, 12-hour shifts, and so my shift was 6 at night till 6 in the morning. And Mary and I lived down in the Spring Branch area. And so, yeah, I was on night shift between U of H and out here for 7 years, my first 7 years in law enforcement.
And how many kids do you have? 2.
I got my daughter is 33 here in a few weeks, and my son is 29, and my daughter, she's got 2 daughters of her own, 5 and 3, so yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So in Sugar Land Police Department, after night shift, doing all that, how soon were you able to get promoted to sergeant?
So I got promoted to sergeant in 88, I believe. And I did that for a number of years. And you know, the way it worked here was we were still on the 12-hour shifts. And so pretty much a sergeant really was, after 5 o'clock in Sugar Land, when all of the city hall and everything closed down, you were pretty much, you were the patrol commander, you were the chief of police, you were the mayor, hell, you were the dog catcher. and we used to do all that. We used to, because the dog guy, he would go home, and that was part of our job, If a dog was in the neighborhood, but you'd get that dog.
So as a commander, when you got promoted to a lieutenant, what all divisions did you oversee?
Yeah, so at the time that I got promoted in 92, Sugar Land was but they were just taking off growth-wise. previous to that, we had annexed Sugar Creek subdivision, and that had added several thousand people to how many residents we had. But First Colony was growing and everything. And so when I came in 92 and I took over command of the Support Services Division, you got to remember, we didn't even have a computer system. And that was kind of one of my tasks, was to bring the department into, having computers and doing things on these big computers in the offices. And so I managed that, and also part of that responsibility was the dispatchers. I was over dispatch, and I was also over the records division as well, and also the crime scene investigators and the evidence division. Yeah, I had all those in there. When I say divisions at that time, we really hadn't taken off growing, and so we were still probably around 50 employees. Yeah.
While I was reading your bio on your website for your campaign, of course, I also saw, and if it's okay with you, I also saw that, you were a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't mind, could you share that with us?
Yeah, no, that's just been this past year. I had between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I found, it's like a cyst I found on my neck. And they come and go throughout life. You get cysts. Well, this didn't go. And between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it got bigger. And then after Christmas, I was like, hey, I need to get into the doctor. And so by the time I got into my healthcare professionals that I go to, by this time it wasn't a cyst. Now it was more like a marble. And, I would talk to people and they'd be like, oh, watch that television show, Dr. Pimple Popper. Right. Hell, I think you even said to me.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, this is, something that it's going to be an easy fix.
Pop it.
Right. And so, hell, my daughter was. But anyway, but it was an easy fix. It turned out that over the next 3 months, I started to get, it kept growing. And, I went through blood tests. I went through CAT scans. And finally in March, the healthcare that I was with, I had a biopsy, and where they removed it, some of it from my neck, and then about a week or so later, they let me know that it was stage 4 cancer, and that the tumor would need to be removed. And so I went to MD Anderson, and thank God that I did, because by this time that I got in there, it went from just being the size of a golf ball to being almost the size of a tennis ball. And I gave you a picture of it you'll be able to share, but the head of oncology and then the surgeon of the head and neck department, they determined that it was inoperable because of where it sat on my carotid artery and then the major nerves. And if they had done surgery, it would have affected my ability to swallow, my ability to talk, me being able to raise my left arm above my shoulder, and probably affect the facial muscles as well. And so they put me on an experimental drug that was, it's called ipilimumab. It's one of the derivatives from that. And every 3 weeks I would go to MD Anderson and it's called immunotherapy. And it's not chemo, but it is a chemical, and you do have side effects. The side effects aren't as debilitating as chemotherapy, but you had some side effects. But my body responded very well to it. And I had 4 treatments over the space of 3 months, and the tumor went from 17 millimeters to it reduced it in size 95%. And so the way that it works is that you have surgery, because they had to make sure that it wasn't in any lymph nodes or anything in my neck.
So you still had surgery done though?
Yeah, I had major surgery, and I had that at MD Anderson, yeah, and And thank God, when they went in, the surgeon reported back to my wife that they couldn't find the cancer, that it was completely gone. And so this ipilimumab really worked on me. They still removed all of the lymph nodes in my neck because they wanted to cut off the pathway should there be any other cancer. But I didn't have to have radiation or any chemotherapy after the surgery. I'm cancer-free. Yeah.
And then within a week, you're back.
Yeah, then the following. Yeah, because it was really, you plan these things and everything, but the surgery didn't work out, and so I had that major surgery on Monday. Took that week off, which I really needed to because it was like a blur, and then the following week, buddy, I had full trials Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It was a full week, and a couple of them were kind of like head scratchers, like, ooh, these are difficult. Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to show you all the size of the tumor that was initially in Judge Joyce's left side of the neck. This is the size that it was originally, and then with the medication and so forth, it dropped down to almost 95% of this size. It shrunk to 95%, and you can kind of see, over here too, where you see on the left side of his neck where the little black round screen is. That was what was there originally. Judge Joyce, I'm really curious to know, when you're going through all of this, how did faith play a role during this time?
Yeah, it plays a major role. I mean, when you want to have your faith before something like this happens, and I've been very blessed that I've had that. I can tell you that cancer, it really is a gut punch. And I can tell you that when I went to MD Anderson and I met not just the patients, but also all of the employees there, the doctors, the staff, and everybody, everybody that's in there is in prayer. I mean, you can really feel the presence of God. And one of the things, majority of my appointments were early in the morning. I'm an early person anyway, and I would get there, and they have a chapel. It's a non-denominational chapel. They're on the first floor in MD Anderson, and I'm a big people watcher from law enforcement, and I can't tell you how many of the employees that I would see in the morning prior, I guess, to them starting their shift or when they were going home, that would go in that chapel and pray. And so, yeah, buddy, you're in conversations with God.
True.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it helped you to, go through that journey, and during the weeks and months that you were covering.
And I can tell you too. It's absolutely. All I can tell you is in 2 words: cancer sucks. And these people mean well. They really try to help you, but I can tell you that, I would lay there waiting to get my blood test, or I was waiting to get, them to find a vein and able to start this immunotherapy, and they couldn't find it. And they don't mean to harm you or anything, but it hurts. And I mean, you're laying there, man, and they're, they got pretty good sized little deal, and they're working around in your wrist or in your arm or something trying to find it. And like I said, it's hard on their employees to do that, And then the nice thing is that I was a success story. I mean, they were very happy. I have a friend of mine, he's gone now, but Al Baker, I think about him and his wife. They were at MD Anderson for almost a year. He didn't make it, and I think, wow, I did. And I look back at their situation, and he was a good patient. I mean, she's a nurse, she's an RN, she's been with for over 40 years. But, sometimes what they have works for you, and sometimes it doesn't. So, yeah, you better have your priorities. You better have your conversations with God all set up before stuff like this hits you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're thankful to God that you recovered
Thank
well and you're back in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Helping Precinct 3.
Yeah.
Very curious to know that you're serving people as a policeman, and then being in the part of the command staff, and then being the watch commander. Now that you're in the judicial system and being a judge, you're still, in my opinion, you're still serving people, but can you let our viewers know how you are?
Well, so there's, although you're still in the justice system, law enforcement, and then being a judge, the jobs are not similar at all. Some parts of it are, especially like being, discerning, and then, but what I do now as a judge is kind of like an umpire behind the plate, and I call balls and strikes. And then sometimes in JP court, because people oftentimes are not represented by lawyers, I'm also the manager of the plaintiff and the defense. And so I kind of look at it like it's a baseball.
Right.
And I have to manage the plaintiff, like, okay, and ask them questions, and have them asking questions, and then the defense try to, bring things out, so that I can flush out, what is the issue here, so that I can make a decision. And one of the things too that I'm big on is that people that are suing someone else and trying to resolve a conflict, they've been waiting for their day in court. And they want their day in court, whether it's a plaintiff or the defendant, because they want you to hear what they have to say. And I give them as much time as necessary for them to explain what it is that they're here for. One of the things that I learned from my son-in-law was he was on that television show, The Wheel of Fortune. And when Adam, afterwards, because they flew him out to California, and he was out there, it was Vanna White and Pat Sajak, and one of the things Adam came back, he was telling me was that, he said, Mr. Joyce, he said, when I went to the studio to film it, he says, we were the first people up. And he says, I was so nervous, he said that, and he did well, he did okay, he won money and everything, but he didn't win that.
The big one.
Yeah. But he told me, he said, if I'd have gone later on and I'd have gotten to relax and watch the other people, I'd have been more confident, and I would have done better. And I took that to the court. And so what I do is, like, when we're having trials, the attorneys that are in there, I let them go first. And I tell the citizens that are representing themselves, listen, watch the attorneys and see how it is that they handle themselves and how they behave. And then that gives them an opportunity that they can sit there and relax, and because everybody's scared, they're nervous.
Right.
For me, it's nothing. I guess it's like the surgeon that operated on me. Hey, it's no big deal, but you know what I'm saying? And so I want people to be relaxed, because they've waited a long time to come in there to present their case. So, yeah.
So, you've been the Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, now Precinct 3.
Yeah.
I keep saying that so that our viewers can, know, because the precinct line changes. So you're running again for 2022.
Right.
So if in 3 bullet points, if you can tell us about your platform.
So, I'm all about the community. I've lived here in the community for decades, and my platform is service to the community. My platform is the work that I've already done, and I'll stand on the work that I've done, and then just what I would like to do in the future. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question deep enough, but
you are.
Yeah.
A lot of constituents, residents, voters know about you. know about you because, you've been here for 30 plus years.
Yeah, and I've married quite a few of them too now. That's another job
Right.
that JPs do.
So, you're a well-known figure in Fort Bend County. Everyone who is either in the legal system or in law enforcement or, getting married or kids and so forth, they know you. They know you, they know your wife because your wife, Miss Mary, has been, Sugar Land City Council in the past. But what message do you have for the voters, for your constituents, for coming election on October 24th, early voting?
Yeah, I would say that one, I ask for everyone's vote, and I'll be as fair and as honest as I have been either in my law enforcement career as I have been here as a judge. Yeah, I think that's my message.
Great. Finally, because it's always about young people, what message do you have for young people of Fort Bend County?
I would say don't take life so seriously. It's going to come at you hard and fast when you get married and have kids and a career and everything. I think the kids today, there's too much pressure put on them to be successes, and that I don't know if they really have time to be kids anymore. And I think maybe that's why some of them get into these video games or these, the TikTok and things like that, because they're looking for an outlet. And like I said, I think kids are just, there's a lot of pressure on them for who they're going to be in life. And sometimes they just need to be who they are right now. It'll come to you. I was very fortunate going on, but from the time I was 5 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to get into police work. That was all. It was embedded in me.
Right.
A lot of kids don't have that, and they don't find it till later on in life. So yeah, don't be so hard on yourself.
Well, thank you so much. Just enjoys meeting with us. Guys, you can look him up, Justin Joyce. You can Google him. His court information comes up. His website information comes up. If you call him or send him a message, you probably won't hear back from him until it's after 4 o'clock because he's busy usually from 8 to 4. But after that, drop him a text or a mail and you'll hear back if you have any questions regarding whether, his service that he does to Precinct 3 of Fort Bend County, or if you have any questions about his campaign. Thank you so much, Judge.
Thanks, Mo.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for the venue.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you.